Good day, beautiful people, and welcome to A Transformed Life, the podcast where we uncover powerful truths that help you heal, grow, and live out your divine purpose. And I'm your host, Nikki Clarke, and today's episode is one we all need at some point in our journey, staying authentic in a world of deception. We're in an era where branding is everything. But sometimes that branding becomes a mask. And today we're going to pull the curtain back on that and talk about what it really means to live in your truth, even when the world is pressuring you to perform. Let's start by defining the two key players in this conversation. Deception is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's subtle. And it shows up in half-truths we tell ourselves to avoid pain, or filters that hide our real feelings, or personas we adopt to win approval. And authenticity, on the other hand, is about alignment. Your inner truth matching your outer expression. So the real question is, how do we choose alignment over approval? Honesty over applause. And that's what we're unpacking today. Pretending is exhausting. The more you perform, the less connected you feel to yourself and to others. And you start losing touch with your own voice. So let's talk about the consequences. Number one, emotional burnout from constantly curating your image. And number two, loss of genuine connection because people love the image and not you. And furthermore, they don't know who you are because they fell in love with that image. And number three, delayed purpose because you're building someone's dream, not yours. So real talk, what good is success if you're not being yourself? Years ago, I was in talks for a media deal, but the company wanted me to, let's just say, hype up my content, make it a little spicy, steamy, and it was less talk about faith and empowerment and more about physical connections, less realness, more entertainment, more scandal, and less transformation. And I prayed on it, I wrestled, but ultimately I declined. I chose purpose over platform. And while I lost that deal, I gained clarity. And more importantly, I stayed true to me. And deception isn't just on big stages. It's in small moments too. And here are some everyday triggers. Job interviews where you have this temptation to embellish, or dating apps, presenting a polished version and not the real one. And Instagram, maybe comparing your life to someone's highlight reel. Workplace culture, feeling pressure to conform and not question. So pause right now and ask, where do I feel tempted to wear a mask? And then that's your work. So how to stay rooted in authentic living? Number one, embrace your imperfection. Authenticity begins where perfectionism ends. Allow yourself to be seen, flaws and all. And number two, do regular honesty check-ins. Ask yourself weekly, where am I hiding? And what am I afraid to reveal? And if you can't do that, find someone you trust, someone you can confide in, and have them identify what those blind spots are, what you're not seeing. They could probably give you some really good feedback. And number three, speak your truth with grace. You can be honest without being harsh. Truth and compassion are best friends. I hear people tell me all the time, I'm a straight shooter. I tell it like it is. That's good, to be honest, but sometimes the delivery can do more harm than um, be helpful. So, number 4, stop over explaining. Real ones don't need you to justify your boundaries. No. No is a full sentence. Let me say that again. No is a full sentence. And number 5, keep your spiritual practices close. So whether it's prayer, meditation, reading scriptures, stay in communion with your higher self. That's very important. That's number 1 for me. So here are some of the long-term rewards of being real. Peace of mind. So no more managing multiple versions of yourself, because that can be very time consuming and confusing, especially if you don't have a good memory. You forgot what your role was last week. You forgot what you said yesterday. And people will be looking at themselves going, that's not what you said. Oh, okay. But they maybe don't want to embarrass you, but deep down they're thinking, I don't think this person is for real. The other part of that is deeper relationships. People connect with the real you. I have a hard time, uh, I wouldn't say take seriously, but I can see through the facade with people, and it's hard for me to trust them, number 1. Number 2, to really want to navigate a relationship with them. And 3, I feel like it's always kind of a landmine situation where there's going to be some kind of clash because my realness is going to maybe disturb their need to put on an act, to be performative. And I don't see any kind of good coming out of that. So I usually just avoid that whole situation. Purpose, clarity. So your truth will guide your path. And then there's the self-respect. You begin to truly like yourself, the version that is the real deal, the real McCoy. Nothing filtered, nothing curated. It's just you. And it might cost you popularity, but it wins you peace. Now, when I started the Nikki Clarke show, it initially was called And the Beat Goes On. And admittedly, I tell everyone that I took on a persona. I was Nix on the mix. So Monday to Friday, I was Nikki Clarke. I was, community college professor and loved what I did. But then I took on this persona on Saturdays when I did the show, Nix on the Mix. And this was my kind of creative liberation where I could dress differently. I could really wear very fashion forward outfits. I had makeup artists, work on the look, the hair. So I was this larger than life personality, and it seemed really fun because it was getting attention, and inviting people from the different walks of life. And we were having these super, I wouldn't say superficial, but they were just very surface conversations about what they did in certain aspects of their life, and then maybe a sample of the work. And that was great. That was great. But I got to that point in my life where that wasn't really satisfying me, and I was growing so much personally that I needed to connect back to being who I was. So that is why the name of the show changed when I got to a pivotal part of my life of transformation. and it became the Nikki Clarke Show. And when the title of the show changed, the premise changed to invite people from all walks of life to share their heart stories. And as I was asking them to, dig deep and talk from a place of authenticity, I had to do the same. I had to be a really good model in doing that and communicating from a place of truth, my truth, and being able to invite people in that space so that they could feel safe, so that they could talk candidly about their situation, their growth, their circumstance, and the lessons that they learned through this situation. And it became like something that I never expected, but I'm just so proud of it that it became a place of, emotional cathartic release. People were unpacking from stories that they've held onto for many years, and they were being released from from these maybe traumas, and people who were listening were recognizing that they were not alone in these isolated situations. And the show was also providing them resources so that they could become unstuck personally or professionally. So look at that. When I decided to make that shift from personality and persona, which is fine, to Nikki, here I am, and this is my story. Something incredibly amazing happened with the show, and I think that is why the show has gone to the reaches internationally and has been able to touch people's lives for 16 years. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm glad that I made that change. The long-term reward of just shifting to authenticity. So here's a challenge for you as we wrap up on a transformed life today. I'm going to give you this challenge for this week. So I'm going to ask you to pick one area where you've been faking it. People say, you got to fake it to make it. All right. Well, let's put a finger on one area that you've been faking it to make it. And I want you to get real. So whether it's in a relationship, your work, or with yourself, take one step toward truth. So here's the affirmation I'm going to give you to carry you through this exercise. I am committed to being real, not perfect. My truth is powerful, and my vulnerability is strength. Let me say that again. I am committed to being real, not perfect. My truth is powerful. My vulnerability is strength. So if you found this helpful, I'd love for you to share it with someone who's struggling to stay true to themselves. Let's keep this movement of transformation alive. So follow me, Nikki Clarke, A Transformed Life, on G Women Media and Spreaker and YouTube, and connect with me on Instagram at Nikki Clarke Network. Until next time, keep growing, keep glowing, and stay real.